Now that we've got the ball in the right position, we can just turn the easings back on. I'll go right to the basic motion category, and that turns all of them on. We can see the dotted line gets added back in. And actually, one thing you might notice is that we have individual control over each property. Now, look what happens when I turn off just the X property. You can see that the actual motion of the ball takes a totally different path. And that's because my ball is speeding up in the Y direction, but it's going the same speed in the X direction. And that actually looks kind of like a bounce pass for a basketball game. In fact, let's set up the other side tween for a bounce going back out. I'll collapse my motion editor here for just a second, and we'll bring our timeline back up. Now you can see that our ball is going to now follow that new path. It'll hit the ground and bounce, and then it's just going to go straight up. Well, let's just modify this motion tween as well. All I have to do is select the motion tween, and I can go back over to my motion editor, double click, and now we're seeing the graphs for this new tween. You can see that the X property is going straight up and down here. It's not changing at all. And what we want to do is move the playhead to the end and modify that X value higher. Now, as we just learned, I can turn off the easing and make all my changes right here. And if we've got our stage set up, we can watch the object move on the stage as well. And I'm just going to keep pushing it here until it goes right off the right-hand side. Now, once again, I want to turn on the Y and maybe the rotation, even though we're not using it. But I'm going to leave the easing off for the X value. And you can see our motion path is going to climb up the other side, while the ball is slowing down in the vertical direction. Let's see what that looks like running full speed. I'm just going to test my movie over here in Flash Professional. And you can see we get a nice looking bounce as it repeats going across the screen. Now I think you're starting to see the power of that motion editor panel and what kinds of things we can do in it. When we first set up our easing over here in the property panel, we were doing a simple ease that just hit every single property. You might have noticed that the motion editor panel is the only place where I can actually change the easing from one property to another. Now, our ease property out in the property panel shows up as a simple slow ease. And if we scroll down a little bit, we can actually see that ease has been added over here at the bottom. We even have a graph showing what that ease looks like, and we have a control here that matches the one that's in our property panel. So any changes in either one will give you the same result. Now I know it might take a little time to get used to working this way, but if you can understand the changes in the motion editor as they happen on the stage and change in the property window and link them all together, you'll be doing fine.